So for those who's watching the replay, this is Roman with Roman's Canine Training, and today we have dehydration in dogs. Important, never forget, always make sure you have enough water at your dogs all the time, 24/7, never without a dog, never without water in a dog. If you leave the house, before you lock the door, check that every dog has water. Just in case something happens to you on the streets, you may not be able to come back less than 8 hours, your dog will be out of water. I rather have my dog peeing in the crate than being without water. So, let's get started. Who has a dog that has chronic dehydration or has technical medical issues? Does anybody here has that kind of experience? I want him next to me. I do. Well, on your chair. I want you to tell me what happened. Here she goes. And show colors. Yep, accept. And go. Hi, Jess.
Hi. How are you?
Do you have water?
I do.
Good. I see. Good. Perfect. So tell me what happens if dogs run out of water.
Oh, well, I mean, dehydration is bad for everybody, but I have a dog that has chronic renal failure, and he's had it for about 8 years. So I need to make sure that there is water always available for him. We have 3 bowls of water. I have 4 dogs, 3 bowls of water throughout the house, just to make sure he always has water available.
What are the signals of dogs' water dehydration? How somebody can recognize it?
I think their gums get really pale, right? It's been a long time since I've had a problem with one of my own dogs, but I think their gums get very pale.
Let's see what everybody has to say here. So who can give me few of the signs of what's sluggish? Okay.
Sluggish is kind of like slow, run down.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Fatigue, good. Okay. What else? What else do we have? Disorientation. Okay. What else do we have here?
So I mentioned before in the comments, one of my coworkers had a problem with this with his dog. His dog couldn't poop.
Oh, that's a good sign.
So I never knew that that was a sign.
Well, there's nothing to lubricate to get the poop out of the body. And especially people who have dry food and don't have water next to it, or some people has just too much dry food, too much treats, air conditioning is running, not enough water, not enough ventilation, and the dog is just getting dry.
Yes.
So the first thing that I would see a dog from far is drooling. So there's a sticky drool on the, sometimes it's also a little bit of foamy, but it's a really thick drool. Dry nose, you can see it also, dry nose, and you can see the dog is panting, and usually the tongue is like shoveling. Okay, that's first thing of overheating sign, cause of dehydration. The next thing what you can do is, if you can get close to the dog and you can pet him, snap the skin and let it go and see how fast the skin returns. It should go back like a rubber band.
Yep.
Did I say drying or did I screw it up with a rubber band?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so let it go and then see how fast the skin should go back. If the skin goes very slow back and you see the skin like returns slow, that's a sign of dehydration because dogs are floating in their skin. Okay, so basically they're running in a coat of overcoat. It's not like us, the skin is attached to the meat. The dog's skin is like attached like a shirt. Okay, skin elasticity, correct? Sophie, tell that. And the next thing we have here is the eyes are in synced. You can see the eyes synced. It's already advanced dehydration. That's already the sign that you grabbed your dog, getting in a car and up to the vet. Water drinking is not enough if that dehydration is going to that level. And then you see the dog already collapsing and not even able to walk. In the vet, he needs to get technical hydrated, usually by how you call that?
IV.
Intravenous IV, correct. So don't waste time. Don't think about it. Don't start Googling it. Run to the vet. It's not a bad thing to get the dog extra dehydrated. It's not a bad thing. It happens with dogs too. So what can cause dehydration? I need some input here. What can cause dehydration in dogs?
So an interesting thing that happened, my coworker whose dog couldn't poop rushed his dog to the
Hmm.
vet because he was worried that maybe he had eaten something.
Right.
Um, Turned out the dog wasn't getting enough moisture. And in talking with my coworker, he said, well, when I come home from work, he'll just stand there and drink 2 bowls of water. And I don't think that's good for him. And I explained to him they usually don't drink when we're not home because they know that they can't go out. And I told him, just let your dog drink. And
Hmm.
my husband was annoyed with one of my dogs because when I come home from work, she'll drink a bowl of water. And before every meal, as I'm preparing the food for the dog, she stands at the water bowl and she will drink an entire bowl of water. And
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with it. That's what she needs, and it's keeping her hydrated. And I told my coworker, just let your dog drink. Why would you
Right,
not
right.
let your dog drink water?
Well, because if the dog drinks too much water, he'll be pee in the house. It makes completely sense,
No, well, he
right?
thought it was going to hurt the dog. He thought the dog that there was something wrong with the dog, that this
Well, there
wasn't
is a
normal.
problem with that because too much water drinking creates the dog water toxification, which is
Yeah.
another problem. Okay, so what I usually do is if dogs who don't drink enough water, and I have few dogs of those that just don't drink water in general, I wet their food. I
Yes.
usually use I hot water and let it warm it up a little bit, just a little bit like body temperature. Let it soak it in, and then add additional water. He has to drink himself through the food.
Mm-hmm.
That gives him enough water. So if the dog doesn't drink water but he likes to eat, that's the best way to get him in.
Yeah, and
Well, yeah, Martina says the vet says wet food and doability. Well, let me grab something here because let's get this to the core. I should have somewhere kind of food.
and I'll
I
say
got it.
while Roman's off doing that, I add water to my dog's meals every meal, and I started doing it because it's so hot in North Carolina during the summer, and I wanted to make sure they
Hmm.
were getting enough moisture. I have one dog who barely drinks water ever, and then I have the other dog that has chronic renal failure. So that helps. And I use the wet food also, and I add pumpkin for my old guy just to kind of help keep him regular, but that also adds moisture.
Hmm. So Martina said the vet said moisture. Good. So wet food. Wet food has 78% moisture. But there are things in it, for example, salt, that makes a dog even more thirsty. Okay? And then all these supplements that are in here um, that are not they're not helping the dog. So moist food helps, but it doesn't hydrate the dog really because that water in the food is needed for the processing of food. What the dog really needs is body moisture, like yeah, body water. And the body water can only be filtrated through the water intake and from the food. But if the food itself consumes its water, then it doesn't help it either. So yes, moisture food helps, but I would say it's not the primary reason to give the dog water. Correct? Sophie here from KKR Fit, whatever. Due to certain organs dysfunctions, lack of certain minerals and vitamins that allows pet to absorb the water into the tissues, correct? In people, if person does not absorb water and just pees it out, adding 10% cranberry organic juice help people absorb the water. This is correct. The same thing with dogs. We can also add cranberry extract to help the urinary system. So one thing we need to add here is that one main reason dogs get thirsty, even if they have a full bowl of water, is that the water is not clean. Okay, so dogs are fresh water drinkers. They need always fresh water, meaning is fresh water is running water. And here's the answer for people who ask me, why my dog is drinking from the toilet bowl? Because this is running water. It runs all the time. So there is more time running water in the toilet than in dog's water bowl. Because dog's water bowl is standing, and if you see bubbles in the water of the dog, flush it out, clean it out, make sure that everything is clean, and put it back in again, filled with water. So if you have a 70-pound dog, that's not enough of water. You need a 6-quart bucket. Okay, that's a 6-quart of bucket is almost like a big pasta, where you boil pasta.
The pots, the big pots.
Pots, exactly. So a big pot where you boil your pasta is good enough for a 70-pound dog. Okay, because what happens every time the dog drinks water, salvia drops in the water and becomes a very thin microorganism film that basically seals the water. Okay, but that the dog considers as dirty. Okay, so we need to watch that. So every time you feed your dog, clean up the water bowl, clean up the food bowl, and make sure there is no slimy, sticky stuff on the water bowl. Okay,
Yeah,
I would not like to have. Correct. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I recommend putting the bowls through the dishwasher as often as possible, especially if you ever run
the metal ones.
kitchen.
The metal ones,
Yeah.
not the plastic ones.
Yeah, ceramic can go through also.
Good, because the plastic bowls, even whatever material it is, it absorbs moisture. So if your dishwasher is running hot, the plastic expands, the molecular structure expands, and there is more moisture going into the plastic bowl. Well, the moisture of the dishwasher is not only water, but it's also soap water. So you want to make sure that the plastic bowl is not full of soap water. So when I wash my dish bowls, I wash them by hand. I don't wash them in a dishwasher. Sometimes I do when I'm late and I want to grab everything in, but not the water bowls. Water bowls always go hand wash. Clean my dog's bowl all the time. Yes, correct. Right. So,
Roman, I have a question.
Problems. Go ahead.
Do you recommend the water bowls that are like a waterfall and they have a filter in them, and so that the water is always moving, and they say, your dog will drink more and have clean water all the time?
I would say yes, under 3 conditions. Big enough bowl, so the water container is big enough. The running water is good. Usually they have a sponge in it that filters the dirt and the salvia out of it on the return, which is good. And some of them have also carbon filter in it. So running water is good. And active water, molecular structure is smaller, is thinner, and so thin that it can penetrate the cells. Standing water, the molecular structure becomes bigger clusters. And I want to say that water is a crystal. And if somebody doesn't believe that water is a crystal, put the water in the refrigerator and see how hard it gets. These are crystals. So our water is just a liquid crystal. So standing water basically becomes together and becomes a big cluster of liquid crystal that you will, if you swallow it, you feel like a thick water going down your throat. If you drink the water from the well, you feel like it's hard water, but you feel it rinsing down like very softly.
Oh,
that's
sounds
a different
gross.
molecular structure. Yeah, but this molecular structure, the water is thinner. It grinds itself through the movement, and it's so thin that it can penetrate the cell walls. The problem is that our brain needs a lot of moisture in order to detoxify the brain cells. So if we don't drink enough water, or well, we drink enough water, but we don't drink enough healthy water or active water, the brain cells get stuck with dirt and we will not be able to have logical thinking. So we have our brain dehydrated, even if we drink everyday water. Okay? So that happens with dogs too, especially with dogs who are more important to drink running water than humans. And dogs can suffer from water dehydration more than they suffer from hunger. So in nature, dogs will eat meat raw, and they will drink also the blood, which is everything is included in the moisture. So the meat has so much moisture in it as fresh that consumes enough. If the dog doesn't have water to drink, he can hunt and he can get this moisture from the food. And it's already body water. So that water can absolutely directly be processed. It doesn't need to go through the kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, the question was, I clean my bowl with any time zone. Okay. The other question was, when does my dog get dehydrated? What happens that can cause my dog to be dehydrated? Any ideas, anybody?
Well,
So
if
from my
they're,
experience, go ahead.
I was going to say, if they're sick and they're not drinking, or if they just don't have access to water.
Correct. What else? Heat in the yard, playing a lot, being so busy from running that nobody remembers to drink water. And he's like, guys, come over here. And he's like, what? I get a treat for that? No, come on, get some water. Oh, yeah, right. I need to drink some water. And slurp, slurp, slurp. So excessive playtime with the dogs, especially puppies, who will get so excited that basically forget to drink and pee and poop. Make a time breakout, especially if you train your dog. Make sure you have enough fresh water next to you near your training session. Make time breaks every 5-10 minutes. Let your dog drink water and come back to the training session. Keeps your dog moisture, more brain availability. The next thing what happens is if dogs have diarrhea or vomiting, it's absolutely loss of hydration. So if you see the dog has had diarrhea for one day and he drinks water like crazy, you may end up at the vet, not only for the diarrhea, but only for the dehydration. The dog's water intake is not enough for the water outtake. Okay?
Yep.
So the other thing that's important is dry food. Too much dry food, it's dehydrated. One bowl of water is not enough for the dog to have per day per meal. So always make sure that there is enough water in it. If you're suspicious the dog doesn't drink enough water because you never check the water, or the dog is drinking outside from the fontaine, we don't care. You want to make sure that you have enough water, fresh water for your dog. So what else? What happens in the winter? Everything is cold, even the air moisture is gone. That's dry air. Make sure your dog has water. In the summer, the air conditioning is running, and most of the times the air conditioning does also dehydration. The dry air is there, dog is panting, doesn't get enough moisture. In the car, we're driving around, hot, dog is sitting in the back of the seat, there is not enough air circulation, dog starts panting, and dogs cool themselves through evaporation. Even if you drive just an hour with your dog, your air conditioning removes the humidity from the car, it dries your dog out. And we also feel that in our dry skin in the winter and the summer, right, with air conditioning. Correct. Especially for us down southeast, especially if you walk outside, I would definitely watch the day walk. Make sure you have enough water with you. So if you go every day out for a walk and you know that you're going late, why not create a water station somewhere in the neighborhood? Just get some water, hide it somewhere behind a fence, and have a water bowl with you and just fill it up on half the way. You don't need to carry all the water with you.
Yeah.
I have 2 dogs. I have, by the way, outside of my house, I have a bowl of water. So somebody asked a question. Good question. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I think that's a good idea for dogs who will not drink water. No way. You can add some organic chicken brew. Just add a few drops in the water and the dog will drink out of it. It's a good question. Bacon water, yay.
I know a lot of people who add apple cider vinegar to their dog's waters for overall health, I guess. And these are
Yes.
usually dogs that have ear infection problems or some skin problems. I
Correct,
tried
but I
it.
would
My
be
dogs
very
wouldn't.
careful. I would be
Yeah.
I would be very careful because what you create here, you create acid water. which is good on one time. But you need to know what exactly your dog's pH balance is. Just because it's good for most dogs doesn't mean it's good for your dog. So I would consider consulting a holistic vet who can do some preparation and make sure that the water has the right pH. Like you can try to get the sour water from the store, like 8.7,
Yeah,
and see what they like.
I had tried putting in a little bit of apple cider vinegar, like just a couple of drops in one of the water bowls, and my dogs would not touch it at all. And I figure, you know what? They probably know better than I do what they need, and
Yeah, yeah.
this isn't working.
So I do, for example, rescue when I have rescues who doesn't drink water and I see him has a big damage. After I do a vet visit and check all his organs are okay,
Mm-hmm.
I start his meals always with chicken brew. So they're flavored with chicken brew because most of the people in the shelter have chicken flavored food, and some dogs don't start eating if it doesn't have a chicken taste. Especially for people who get their dogs from a shelter, dogs there suffer from hydration every day. They spill their bowls over, they don't get fresh water enough. Some shelters, like here in Austin, they are good shelters and they will take care of that. But most of the shelters throughout the country, it's not taken care of. So dogs
Right.
are in the shelter with dirty water. Sometimes they spill it in with their legs. It's full of dirt. They will not drink it.
Yep. Yeah, our shelter is like that. It's filthy, and you can smell how bad the water is sitting in the bowls.
Yeah, and a good thing to do when you get your dog out of there after he drinks a lot of water, wash him off, get this dirt off.
Yes.
They feel better. Scrub him out, like take an hour, go with him in the shower, bath.
Yep.
Other questions? What else do we have? Any other questions? Fever. Yes. Well, the problem with fever is not dehydration. The problem with fever is having fever. So I would definitely go to the vet if the dog has fever. The good temperature measurement is grab your dog's ear, see if they're hot. Especially if you do dog training, start with touching your dog's ears to feel the temperature, and then after a couple of minutes, check your dog's ears, see how hot he gets. If the ears are really hot, make a timeout, go get some water. So basically the ears are cooling down the brain, and too much thinking of the dog creates the CPU to run hot, so they need to cool down.
So when your dog is dehydrated, or you've pulled a dog from a shelter and they're dehydrated, is it okay to let them go ahead and just drink, or is it kind of like when you have a starving dog and you need to introduce food in very small meals?
It sounds weird, but the first experience the Americans had with too much at the time was when they first released the prisoners in Auschwitz at the lagers in Germany. So people were starved and thirsty there. So what they did is they gave them food and water, right? They felt dead. They just died.
Huh.
So too much water and one at a time and too much food at the time creates a shock. Okay, it gets water toxification. So let your dog drink a little bit of water multiple times a day.
Okay. And
good answer. Dogs have a temperature of 102. If the dogs get 103, you better run to the vet.
Yeah. And I was going to ask another question, but I forgot. Oh, ice cubes.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about ice cubes? I know a lot of people.
Ice cubes. I don't like too many ice cubes. It creates a shock in the stomach. So there are dogs who can handle it. Some dogs cannot. So you can give him 1 or 2 ice cubes, like having fun. And I have ice cubes, and I usually put the chicken flavor in it. So they're like chicken flavor ice cubes, snacks. The dogs come in for training. I give him an ice cube. He chews on it. He likes it, which is a slow release water. Okay, which is good. But if he starts going through the ice container and eat the whole ice out of it, it's not good. It creates a shock in the body.
When I work,
and the best way.
When I worked at the
Go
zoo,
ahead.
we used to save the blood from the raw meat, and we would make bloodsicles for the cheetahs during the summer.
Exactly. That's a good thing to do. Well, as a concept, it's a little problematic in the household to have this old bloody kitchen going on. Whose blood is that? My grandmother's? No, we have to be careful on that. So, people who handle raw food and have the idea to use blood for that, I would say be very careful, make everything clean. You have to have a clean kitchen.
Yep.
Always make sure that you're handling fresh stuff. A good dehydration method, from my understanding, you can add yogurt or kefir. It's a slow release moisture. It goes into the body, cools the body down, and slowly release body water. It's very thin, good water, but not too much. I always add some kefir on my dog's food, which is a lot of probiotics. And having probiotics in your body stomach, the food can be better processed and there can be more moisture absorbed, and the system is cleaner. So there's a lot moisture going through the body. What else? How much water should the dog drink? I didn't see that question. Who's asking that question? Is anybody asking the questions? How much water should the dog drink?
I just let mine drink. I know that my dogs don't have a problem over drinking, and I have met some dogs who drink obsessively, but my dogs don't have that problem. So I just let them drink as much as they want, and I just keep refilling bowls all day.
Good. So what happens if the dog doesn't drink enough water? How can I measure if he drank enough water?
Well, like you were saying,
So
testing the skin and
that's
looking
one
for those
thing.
symptoms.
Yeah. In general, a good measure is I will add about 1 or 2 milliliter per kilogram of water in measurements, or 2 to 4 milliliter per pound, especially if the dog is hydrated. So dehydration, if you add electrolytic solution, it needs to be about 2 to 4 milliliter per pound. So water, let me see, I should have here somewhere something very smart. Maybe I can share it with you guys. Give me a second. I'm look something up and I can share it with you, because I have a whole picture of kind of a first aid kit. Give me a second. Oh, come on.
And I know, talking about hydration, one of the big things with parvo is, parvo runs its course 7 to 14 days, and really you just have to get the dog through it as best you can. And one of the biggest parts of that is hydration. And because the dog can't drink when they have parvo, because their intestines and their stomach lining is just being shed, we use a lot of sub-Q fluids, and just all day giving the dog sub-Q fluids and IV if they're in the hospital, because if they can stay hydrated, chances are good they'll make it, and it's so hard to keep them hydrated.
Yeah. So Martina said about colloidal silver.
I've heard of that. I don't really know much about it.
Good. So, yep. I'm just uploading here. I'll share a link with you guys. And what I would suggest is copy that link, put it on your folder, and print it out. And put it on your refrigerator. And I call it a healthy dog checklist. And that healthy dog checklist basically can save your dog's life. And I share the link with you. Yeah, I'm sharing stuff, as long as my computer allows me to open it up. Come on. I think my computer is thirsty. It doesn't do what I want. It's kind of slow. Okay, we got it. So Let me copy it. Here we go. Copy link address. Okay, so let me see if I can do that. Yes, I think maybe it should work. Oh, damn it.
Oh, what happened?
It doesn't work. But if you guys are smart, I will put it here on the side. There you go. Okay, I mean, you can click on the link. Why not? Click on the link, it will open in a new window. But we can still talk. Okay? So I did a lot of work to get this together, and I think it's quite interesting. So the whole thing here tells us, what is it? Here we go. So, and the first thing you can see here is water. So the healthy dog checklist says, water your dog between half and 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. Does anybody want to do a math? How much water a dog should drink if he has like 70 pounds?
35 to 70 ounces, right?
Damn it, you're good. So I have a 120-pound dog. 120 times. Go away. 120.
So you have a small dog,
Go
Roman?
away. A small dog? Yeah, it's a tiny dog. Yeah. So 120 pounds times 1 ounce. That's 120 ounces of water. How much ounces is a gallon?
Is it 32? I never remember.
What is it? I'm metric. I have all the excuses.
I forget how many ounces are in a gallon. I want to say it's 32, 64. Okay.
Okay,
I know it
64
weighs
divided
8
by
pounds.
64. That's almost 1.2 gallons per dog per day. So my 120-pound dog should drink about 2 gallons of water. When I go for a ride, every dog is in a car, I buy 1 gallon of water just for the ride out. So make sure that every dog is good. That's 8 liters. Come on, don't be metric, Martina. Oh, these Germans are so special.
Well, and I was going to say, most of us, the water bowls we get, I know I use those, the steel bowls. And what are those, like a 2-liter bowl? Maybe not even. So, and that's one of the things I watch with my dogs. Between the 4 of them, I expect to refill the bowls 6, 7 times a day.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, that's 4 liters. Yep, that sounds good. So what else do we have? Any other questions? That was it. That's so important stuff going on here.
We're talking about dogs sweating.
Yep, I have seen some dogs who sweat on the paws. Usually dogs don't sweat on the skin. The skin get moisture, but not as a cooling system, more as a guard system.
How do you mean guard system?
Guard system meaning is changing the moisture of the body surface for a good question. I cannot answer the question. But I know some dogs get moisture on the surface. I know dogs get wet on the paws. Okay, that's stress, for example. You can see them leaving footprints over the vet's office. But I've seen some dogs who get moist, but it's kind of fatty moist. It's not like really water moist.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, because I was saying my Sholo sweats. Like he'll get sweat right down his spine, and my German Shepherd Shar-Pei mix gets very sweaty armpits where it like drips down. But yeah, it doesn't feel like sweat like it feels on us.
No, it's moist.
But it's kind of gross.
Yeah, it's oily.
Yeah.
It's oily. I think it comes from the glands, especially on the tail. And I would associate that with food. So dogs who are very sticky on their skin, I would definitely check in with the food quality.
Well, they get good food. I think with my German Shepherd Shar-Pei mix, he's got that Shar-Pei skin. And then the Sholo is
Mm-hmm,
also,
mm-hmm.
my Sholo is actually kind of dry, but I do know some that are very oily dogs. So when they sweat like this from stress or from being hot,
Mm-hmm.
is that a sign of dehydration, or when they're sweating from their skin, is it something else? Like you were mentioning food, but could it be from dehydration, or like they're getting hot and playing and
Um, I don't know the medical answer.
okay.
I don't know the medical answer. Do we have any vet here around? No.
No, I don't think so. I wasn't sure because I know like during the summer when it's real hot and my Sholo gets sweaty, when he gets sweaty, I'll bring him inside and give
Mm-hmm.
him water, and he sucks it up like he's never had water before. So I didn't know if that was part of it.
Theoretically, it's body water, but it doesn't come from pores like we do. Like it's not a cooling system.
Okay.
I think it's more an alert system or alarm system. Because if the dog's skin cools down, there is no blood vessels to transfer the temperature into the body.
Okay.
Okay, because the skin does it's just floating, but it's on the coat, correct?
Yeah, that makes sense because
So
it's most often when it's super hot out, like 95 degrees and 90% humidity, and yeah.
yeah, so we understand sweating as cooling down, but dogs do not sweat for cooling down. Okay, so especially now in the summer, dogs who are going out in the sun and play out in the yard, make sure you have sun protection. So unlikely few years ago, we have a natural, sunblock through the ozone, but now we have not, so we are exposed. So make sure that your dog has um, skin protection, and there are some skin protection out there that are made for dogs.
Yep, I actually make one because my hairless dog, I like to put something on him,
Mhm.
and I know he's going to lick it off, and I haven't found a product that I've felt comfortable with him ingesting. So I
Mhm.
make one from
Okay.
shea butter, coconut oil, and I put raspberry seed oil in because it's got some SPF, low SPF properties. And then I put in some essential oils to keep the bugs away.
And olive oil does it too, I think. Olive oil has a
Oh,
protection
does
too.
it?
Let me let me Google it because in Greece we use olive oil.
Okay. So, and Martina made a comment here, important that dehydration is often a sign for other illnesses. So, and
This is
yeah, and
correct.
that's how we discovered my dog had chronic renal failure because he was chronically dehydrated. And this was, I think, 8 years ago. He was about 6, I think, when he was diagnosed. And I kept bringing him in because, he would get the pale gums and, panting and everything. And finally, the vet did some tests and discovered he had renal failure.
Good vet. It's a good vet. So I just found out, I just Googled it just to check up. So olive oil has about 2 to 8 sun factor, and shea butter has 3 to 6.
Okay, yeah, and I think raspberry seed oil, I want to say it was around like 2.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's a low sun protection, but I just wasn't comfortable with the stuff that's on the market with my dog eating it because everything
Yeah,
you put on him, he licks off.
I yeah, I agree with that. And especially if you put it on the nose, the first thing to do is to lick
Mm-hmm.
it off. So it needs to be something that's um how you call it, water
Yep.
resistant, so it's not solved out from the
Yep.
dog. Um, Salvia. Okay, here we go. So yeah, do not use almond water. Delete almond water, almond oil,
Why not?
uh, because it comes from the from the kernel.
From the kernel?
Yeah,
And that's bad?
it has also. Yeah, it has blue. I don't remember what it is in it, but it's not healthy for the dogs.
Okay.
So let me check. I have recently somebody invited me for on a show about sun skin protection for dogs. Dog event. Um, sun protection. I will remember the name.
And you can also buy clothes for dogs now that are made from that material that blocks UV.
Yep, I have that too for the dogs. It's basically a sponge sandwich thing. It's like a sandwiched material. So you soak it in water and put it on the dog, and it basically cools him down through evaporation.
Okay.
And I think, oh, okay. My Dog's Nose It is the name of that product, and I will send the link here right away. So the lady who did that company had cancer herself, skin cancer, and she did some study on that stuff, and her dog had always problems with her skin. So what she did was she invented a new line of products for her dog, and I just posted it. Here we go.
Oh, for the dog's nose.
So that's the website of
Oh, that's
hers.
cute.
Yeah, for the dog's nose. Yeah. And I asked if it comes in different
Yeah.
flavors. Hey.
Liver flavor?
Right. Thank you, Martina, for checking it out. Guys, if I say something doesn't mean it's the law, okay? I want you to be very critical. I may be drunk that day and didn't admit. Okay, so any other questions? What about the neighbor's dog?
Don't get me started on my neighbor's dogs. Where I live, most people just put their dog on a chain in the backyard. So don't get me started on neighbor's dogs.
Yeah.
It's slowly changing, but not fast enough.
Yeah.
I would steal them and place them,
Yeah,
Martina, except these are people who would retaliate. So, and in fact, the people who live on the corner were flippers. You guys know what dog flippers are?
Yep.
Yeah, they were
Yep. We know
flippers.
these guys. They're all over the Facebook.
Yep, and the police and animal control finally showed up because they had a pair of pit bull puppies that kept getting out and playing in traffic. And there was almost an accident, a really bad accident that the puppies caused. Very nice socialized puppies, but extremely malnourished. One of them had mange. And when the police came out, because animal control is at that house all the time, they chained the dogs, gave each one of them a tiny little dog house, and then eventually one of them, one of the dogs disappeared, and I hadn't seen the other dog in a while and was worried about it. And this is also a foster home, and the oldest foster kid, now I see him, he's actually walking the dog through the woods behind my house, and the dog is grown up and looks healthy and great, really well behaved. So it was nice to see that one of the dogs has made it and must be living inside now. And I wish they would stop walking through my woods because my dogs are going to lose their minds. But, you know, he's walking the dog. The dog is trained. It's great. So I'm not going to tell him to stop.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think we need to understand where people are coming from, and for some people, having a dog in the house is already an achievement, considering where they're coming from. I've seen people from Asia who have a completely different mindset about dogs in the house, taking dogs in the house, and they really don't see the dogs like we do.
Yeah.
So in Europe, for example, it's a house dog or it's an outside dog. In Greece, it's most likely an outside dog. It's most likely not an inside dog. So you drive to Greece, and I have friends of mine on Facebook, and sometimes, you know, I help them in dog training, and I tell them, where's your dog? Oh, he's down in the farm. Well, you're never going to your house. Oh, he has food and water for a month.
Yep.
Well, I cannot unfriend him. I know how he means. He means good. So they have dogs as a protection dog. And up there in the wilderness, when people are having their sheep herds and dogs up there, these dogs are trained to find water on their own. He if he knows exactly how much food he has left, and every time he eats half of the previous one.
Yeah.
So they always regulate their food. They're good.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Oh
we
boy.
have a lot of rescuers in this area, and people, they'll drive around where they know that dogs are chained outside, and they'll just kind of check to make sure that there's clean water. It's the same with horses
Hmm.
around here. They'll make sure that there's clean water, that the dogs look like they're being fed, and they try to talk to the owners and make sure they understand the importance of clean water. Um, and
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
I think of it as if I look at my dog's water bowl and I think, oh, I wouldn't drink out of that. That's too dirty. It needs to
Yeah.
be
I
clean.
agree. I agree with that. So we are pretty much at the end of the closing. Do you guys have any other questions?
I don't.
Good.
So plastic bowls,
No plastic.
yeah, I don't use plastic. If I have a dog that refuses to eat out of a metal bowl, I try to go for a ceramic bowl, something that I know where it's been made and
Hmm.
what's been fired with, because I know sometimes the colors of that they use on the ceramic can have metals and things in it. I do use a plastic bowl for
Hmm.
one of my dogs because it's the kind of bowl that won't slip and slide on the floor. But I
Hmm.
mostly I use metal. It's easy to clean. Stuff isn't going to get soaked into it, and they last forever.
So one thing I would be careful. We really don't care, but dogs do care if they have the collar hanging and they drink on the water bowl and you hear it glinging and sounding. Imagine your dog has his ears in the bowl and he sounds like being in a clock tower. So take the collars off while they're drinking water, or you can add a rubber thing around the tag so they don't make that noise.
Yeah.
And for people who have problems with the dogs eating, some dogs are very sensitive on the sap layer. Usually we put a towel in it or like doggy stuff. If you look at that with a very blurry look and you see something that looks like eyes, don't use it. Dogs feel intimidating. Some of the balls have pictures in it, like it looks like a dog thing. Don't use it. Okay, dogs feel like who is watching me here. I don't want to eat that. Some dogs feel weird about reflection and shiny stuff. So a chrome ball, we make a problem with that. So you can use a metal ball, but make sure it's matte and it's not
Yep.
shiny. Okay. If you want to give him a glass ball, a Pyrex or something, make sure it's dark and not white or something, because dogs kind of get too weird with that. They're sticking their head in it, so we need to see it from that perspective. I had a Great Dane. He wouldn't drink from a corner because there were the outlets staring at him.
Yep.
Okay,
I have a dog that won't eat or
we
drink
covered.
unless I close the doors so nobody can see him. He'll stand there and stare at you until
Yeah,
all the doors are closed.
yeah. It's very important step also to do. Dogs have a problem if they are not in secured areas. So if your dog doesn't feel to eat, switch the balls around. Maybe you want to set up 3 or 4 balls throughout the house and see where your dog prefers to eat and keep it that way, especially with rescues. Some rescues wants to have the butt covered,
Yeah.
especially the dogs who do not eat 90 degrees against the wall. They eat like slightly on the side so they can see what's going on. Maybe you want to remove the ball, bring it to a completely different area.
Yep. I have one that does that. He stands sideways and turns his neck when he drinks. Not when he eats. He doesn't care when there's
Yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah.
He just dives in, but just with the water.
Good. So let's recap everything so we have everything here in place. So Dehydration in dogs: loss of ability to replace lost fluids orally. These fluids are comprised of vital electrolytes and water. So dogs need water because of the minerals and electrolytes in it. So tap water is not enough for dogs. You can order online. Let me show you what I have, which is not 100% for dogs, but it helps. It's a trace mineral supplements. I use it. It doesn't mean it's perfect for the dogs. That's how it looks like. Okay. It has magnesium, chloride, sodium, potassium, sulfate, lithium, boron, blah, 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 all this crappy stuff. So it has 72 ionic trace minerals. And I remember I used to live near a farm, and I used to drink out of our running water. So when I added that in my water and drinking water, it had that taste of running water because of the minerals. It changes the taste. So I would check the ingredients and see if your vet agrees with it, and you can add a few drops into your dog's water bowl. I have a 7-stage watering system. I have a reverse osmosis filtering system, prep filter, side filter, sediment filter, carbon filter, UV filter, and then I remineralize the water through minerals, and then I add the supplements to that. I can say I have pretty much good water. Well, the best water is a well water. So acute warning signs. The most common symptoms of dehydration is loss of elasticity on the skin. So when you pull lightly the skin, you will really come back to its original place. So you want to watch that. Anything alarming symptoms is, we call it xerostomia, which is Greek. Basically, it's dry mouth. When you open the sides, you will see it's not moisture. If you put your fingers in, it's dry. The same with the nose. If the nose is not sticky, and if you put the hands in your lips and it is not sticky, then the dog has a problem. So definitely you have to add as quick as possible water. So the other thing is, you can see also if this salvia is like sticky on his mouth, and you can see that it's almost like a gel. That's already moisture, lack of water. So in advanced stage, you will see the dog's eyes are sticking in instead of out, and then you may see a dog's like bouncing around like crazy. Well, in the car and up to the vet straight away and call in. So you don't wait at the door for them to get you in. You have to go right away in there. Let the vet know that's an emergency. So primary cause of dehydration, first of all, is vomiting and diarrhea, illness, fever, heat stroke, and deficiency on fluid intake, which makes absolutely sense, right? So especially dogs in the southern areas where they're running around in the yard all day long and it's pretty dry, make sure you have water. And not only one, you need safety. Have 2 bowls of water out there. Why only one?
Yeah, and they make
Okay, it's not a big deal.
they make things that you can put on the hose spigot where the dog can come up and lick it like a water bottle for a guinea pig or a gerbil.
Yeah.
So that way they always have access.
Yeah. They have some automated systems where the dogs goes in and the water stands go low, it floats back again, which is good, but it's not reliable. Okay, and it's only a dirk or a leaf and it will stuck.
Oh.
So always have a backup plan. So immediate care. If there is a moderate dehydration and the dog is not throwing up, you can treat the dog with Ranger's lactate, which is the one you can get on the 5% dextrose at CVS or whatever store. You can also administer electrolyte solutions at the rate of 2 to 4 milligrams per pound. If the dog's body weight per hour.
So is that something like?
But always,
is that something like a Pedialyte?
Yeah, but always check in with your vet on that. If you have that kind of situation coming up and you have many dogs in your house, I would definitely call your vet and says, what should I have handy in my house in that cause? So if your dog is suffering from the severe dehydration, however, you seek immediately medical attention, that will be administered at the intravenous fluids at the vet. So prevention in general, always have fresh water. If you dog has diarrhea, take care of it. Don't wait for him to pass after a week. Okay. Always serve fresh water with your dog's food bowl. Make sure that the dog drinks enough water, and if you suspect that the dog doesn't drink enough water, moisture his food. Okay. I always have warm water, fill it up just enough so you can see the dry food not swimming but being on top, and then underneath water. So he needs to drink water with that. It will help also if dogs are eating too fast. This water will slow them down and start leaking first before they eat. Good. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We had good stuff going on. I'm sad we didn't have a vet here give us like more input. But Jess was good. She has enough knowledge, and I think we covered pretty much everything. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. We covered a lot today. You know, I think everybody should talk to their coworkers and their friends about the importance of not only fresh water, but allowing your dog to drink. Like my coworker just wasn't allowing his dog to drink, and then his dog ended up in the ER because he couldn't poop. So tell everybody.
Yeah, so in addition to that, if you see your dog is dry poop and having a hard time getting his shit out of it, make sure that you add some water to his food. And maybe you want to change the food, because many dog foods, and I say many with the meaning of 90% of dog foods, are not appropriate for dogs. Okay, hit me with that. Okay, so dog food out there is not what you expect them to eat. It's wrong food. It's not healthy for the dogs. Most of them have kidney failures over time, and I want you guys to be very aware what you're feeding. These guys want to get rid of their garbage, and we have to pay for it and the dogs' lives. So please be aware of that. Yeah, thank you very much for joining. And I'm switching over. I'm shutting off here my recording. Okay.